Hello students, how are you all? I hope you all are doing good. Today we'll be dealing with your next lesson, that is Lost Spring Stories of Stolen Childhood by Enise Jung. Now students, Enise Jung is an Indian author from Hyderabad. She is a journalist and a columnist known for her sensitive humanistic writing on socio-economic issues, especially the lives of marginalized children. Okay, so this chapter, as you know, students, is divided into two parts. Let us understand both of these in detail. Now, students, part 1 deals with this story. Sometimes I find a rupee in the garbage. So, students, here we see the author introducing us to this character named Sahib, who's a young rag picker who searches through garbage heaps on the streets of Delhi every morning. His family had migrated from Dhaka to Delhi after storms and floods destroyed their homes and livelihood. With nothing stable to depend on, rag picking becomes his daily routine, not out of choice but because there was no better option. So the author once asked Sahib why he didn't go to school. He replied that there was no school in his neighborhood. In a light-hearted moment, she jokingly said she would build a school for him. But when he came running to her a few days later asking, "Is your school ready?" she felt embarrassed for having made a promise she never intended to keep. As the story progresses, we learn that Sahib's full name is Sahib-e-Alam, which ironically means Lord of the Universe. Tragically, this grand name stands in stark contrast to his harsh reality. Even if he understood its meaning, he would hardly believe it. Now, gradually, the author began to recognize many rag pickers by that name. Now, one day, she overhears a conversation among a group of boys. When asked why they didn't wear chappals, one boy said his mother hadn't bought them. Another said even if he got a pair, he would throw them off. A third, who had never owned a pair, simply dreamt of wearing shoes some days. The author remembered someone from Udupi who used to pass the temple every day and pray for shoes as a young boy because poverty denied him even the basic comfort. Now, years later, when Enise revisited the same town, she noticed that the priest's son now went to the school wearing neat socks and shoes. Time had changed for him, but thousands of other children still walked barefoot, trapped in the same cycle of poverty. The scene then shifts to Simapuri on the outskirts of Delhi, where Sahib's family and nearly 10,000 other rag pickers live. Now, one winter morning, the author saw Sahib standing outside a fenced tennis court. He watched two well dressed boys play, longing to be the part of the world. Someone had once given him an old pair of tennis shoes. Even though they didn't match, Sahib felt lucky. After all, he had walked barefoot all his life. But soon we see Sahib's life taking another turn. The author saw him carrying a steel milk can. He had found a job at a tea stall, earning rupees 800 a month along with his meals. Yet he didn't look happy, he seemed burdened. So here we realize, students, the freedom of rag picking, where he worked for himself, had been replaced by the constraints of employment. His face no longer held the carefree sparkle it once did. Okay, now the second part of the story is I want to drive a car. Okay, so the second part introduces us to Mukesh, a boy from Firozabad, a town famous for its bangle making industry. Most families here, students work around furnaces, wedding glass, shaping bangles, and enduring intense heat in cramped, airless spaces. Students, don't you feel disturbed knowing that children here work dangerously with temperatures, inhaling toxic particles with protection? Many of them lose their eyesight early in life. Now here, students, we see Mukesh taking author through the foul-smelling lanes filled with garbage and broken structures. His house was a fragile shack of shaky iron door, cracked walls, almost with no ventilation inside. Inside, Ennis saw a small firewood stove where spinach leaves were being cooked in a vessel. The woman cooking, the wife of Mukesh's elder brother, was barely older than Mukesh himself, yet already burdened with the duties of caring for three men: her husband, Mukesh, and the father. When Mukesh's father entered, she quickly withdrew behind the broken wall and pulled the wheel over her face. The older man, a bangle maker all his life, had earlier worked as a tailor but remained trapped in poverty. For students, he could never repair his house nor send his sons to school. Further, students, we see Mukesh's grandfather had lost his eyesight because of years spent in polishing glass. Yet his grandmother blamed his condition as karam, or destiny. For him, bangle making was not just a means of livelihood, but a trap handed down from generation to generation. They could not imagine stepping outside it. So, inside many such homes, young girls like Savita were seen joining pieces of colored classes. The author wondered whether Savita understood the symbolism that bangles represent the suha, that is, the husband, the marital happiness of an Indian woman. Perhaps she would realize it only when she had become a bride herself. Beside her sat an old woman, blind from years of hard labor, who had bangles on her wrist yet had never enjoyed a proper meal in the entire life. Don't you think, students, this is the cruelest form of irony? In Firozabad, families lived crushed under poverty, exploitation, and helplessness, while poor were stuck in one world, whereas the rich, middlemen, policemen, bureaucrats, and politicians controlled the other. This poor imbalance silenced any attempt at rebellion. Their lives continued the same way generation to generation, trapped in a vicious cycle. But we see Mukesh was different. He refused to accept this as his destiny. He wanted to learn to be a motor mechanic. His dream was not grand, but it was honest and his own. He did not dream of flying an airplane that would seem too far away or lofty, but he believed he could learn to repair cars. In that belief, the author saw a glimmer of hope. So this was it, students. If you like the video, please hit to the like and subscribe icons. Thank you.